I organized this whole webinar with topics basically that covers 4 big areas. Number 1 is the stimulus check. Number 2, it is unemployment benefit. Number 3 is EIDL loan. And the number 4 is PPP. This is really the big 4 that impacts small, teeny, little business and the business owners. So that's why I have them listed this way. So you're looking at my second stimulus check screen and knows that this become a law on the 27th. And the Congress passed it on 21st, and take the president a little bit of a week to put a signature on the bill, but now we have it. So the qualified American, and this is defined by Social Security number. So if you have a valid Social Security number, and if you are filing single, you will get $600. And that the act itself told IRS that they need to get that done by January the 15th, or starting to distribute the money by January the 15th. I know the rumor mill says that IRS is already working on it, and so it will be going out to the taxpayer, and the standards of who gets it is the same. Remember, the first round was $1,200, right? Now that one reduced to $600. The only difference is on the dependent. In the first round of stimulus check, dependent was getting $500, right, per dependent, but this time it's $600. And also this time the eligible one, they made a little bit of changes, clarification I would call it, and related to ITIN. So in the world of ITIN, if you're here today, you don't know what I'm talking about, that just means that your life is not really involved in that. That is good, okay? And consider yourself very fortunate. But there are people who are under ITIN. Okay, keep in mind, in the first round of the stimulus check, people, let's say if I have a Social Security number, I'm married to someone with ITIN, then I'm not getting the first stimulus check because my tax return has an invalid Social Security number. But this time around, it have made changes that if I marry to a ITIN holder, and me and my children who has Social Security number will get the $600 for myself and 600 for the dependent. So that is the kind of change is clarified and made, and IRS is going to modify their system to make sure that people like that will receive, family like that will receive the stimulus check. And if both parents are ITIN and the kids are having Social Security number, folks, you don't get a stimulus check for the second round either. Okay, so just to make it clear, and so the spirit of it is that is only for people with Social Security number. But if both of you have ITIN as a mom and dad, and your kid was born here, your kid don't get it. And right now the system is not working that way. That's how it looked for the second stimulus check. And I would have to say that I did do my due diligence to read everything, to look at every other people's comments. And I go with KPMG, I go with AICPA. So those more authoritative figures, and I try to get them to confirm what I am thinking. And this is what I got. Now, you're gonna tell me that, well, what do they based on? They're basing on 2019 tax return, folks. So if you didn't file your 2019, and then this second one is not going to be going back to 2018. So you will have to file your 2019. If you're not eligible to file, if you are a non-filer, see here, you can go to IRS website to enter payment information and go under non-filer. If you are getting money from the Social Security Administration as a part of a disability benefit or as a seniors, you don't need to worry, you will get that. And I just want to mention a couple of things that if you filed 2019 in 2020, but by now you're already divorced, okay? There's a lot of things going on in 2020, and the divorce rate is shoot up, skyrocketed high. So if that happened to somebody, or happened to you, you need to change your information. Otherwise, the stimulus check, it goes to your spouse. because he might be or she might be the first one, the taxpayer listed on the form. So go to fill up form 8822, tell them your new address, okay? And go to change your direct deposit if your bank got closed, okay? And then you change your direct deposit information. Those are little things, but they're so critical for you to realize and not to forget. Your status changed, your bank changed, and your 2020 situation wasn't the same as your 2019 tax return. And make sure you are vigilant about that. If you have questions like that, you call our firm. We tell you, and you don't even anyone in our firm would know that information to guide you to the IRS website. But in this time, folks, you have to realize how busy a firms like our firm would be. So a lot of things that you want to really do some part of the work possible, and really when you're stuck and you have us. But when you come in and say, how do I log into irs.gov? And those are the questions that maybe your daughters and your son and maybe your brothers sisters would help you. So make sure you do your fair share of work, okay? Because we are all in it. We are in it trying to get the maximum benefit you could get. So let's go on to the second one. Second one is unemployment benefit expended. And I want to have you really understand that $300 per week supplement starts from December 26th till March 14 of 2021. So if your unemployment application is not for this period, and then you don't get that 300, right? So know the period is really important. And also know that they expanded the PUA program. That's a pandemic unemployment assistance program. That program means that if you're self-employed, if you're gig workers, what is gig workers? You're IT programmers, and you had your own company, and you had your own name, and they just give you 1099. Anybody, folks, who receive a 1099 has a right to go onto unemployment benefit portal with your state to apply for that. And non-traditional employment, see that? Non-traditional just means you're not getting W-2. You're getting something else. And maybe you didn't even get 1099, but you were working for somebody. Okay, so make sure that you really look at this. We call that PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. That is with every state. So you need to apply for that. If you're not working and the company closed, and you your gig workers at home, and your employer told you that there's no work to you, then you should apply for that. Okay, and then some folks has already applied for their unemployment for long enough that they no longer have any state benefit, because unemployment check you are getting is actually contains the federal money and the state money. State money are the ones that your employer was submitting for you as an unemployment benefit. You remember that? And so those are the ones saved under your employer's account and eligible for employees who are available to take it. You come in to apply for benefit, and they use that account, but though that account can be used up, okay? And you maybe don't have any state benefit anymore. And this December 27th bill that Trump signed would expand that, would say that you still can get money even though you don't have any more benefit left in your state program. So, folks call and says that, well, do you think I'm eligible to apply? And I tell folks that you don't even need to ask anybody. If you felt like you are eligible, you felt like this might be your case, you try that on the website with the state. Apply now, apply it right away. Don't ask whether you are eligible or not. Let them decide. Because we know the general spirit, and people who don't have a job need to get some kind of help. So this is the help, okay? So now I said that in this PowerPoint, and I wrote down, when you are in doubt, simply apply. Okay, when you got a rejection letter you don't understand, you can certainly get help from us, and we will tell you where that went wrong, and maybe your period is not right and what happens. So make sure. And also, one other things I want to mention to you, you can go back to apply for the one you didn't apply, you qualified. So you don't have to say that, well, I already suffered through for 9 months, and now I just realized that I can apply for an employment benefit, and what do? Apply all the way back. Okay, so I had a lady come in, and I'll tell you that they are so struggling, but she doesn't even know she qualifies for an employment benefit. So those are the folks we want to reach out and make sure that if you have someone who are just too proud to apply for unemployment, and this is a pandemic time, just let go of that pride. I mean, we just want to make sure that we all come through this properly, right? I want to see you as my client forever. I want to see you come into my webinars and with more lighthearted spirit, and rather than, everyone is scared and worried and what's going to happen for the next 3-4 months. And it will be really tough one, but for those government provided benefit folks, if you don't ask for it, nobody gonna come knock your door say, hey, I think you're eligible for that. And maybe our community CPA folks, we do that. We knock on clients' door, guess maybe you qualify for that. What do you think? So, but generally speaking, there's nobody really there to do that for you, and you need to do that yourself. Okay. Let's go for EIDL. So I covered stimulus check. I covered unemployment benefit, and here is the EIDL loan. So on December 20th, that's the day, and SBA extended the application due date to next year, whole year, folks. And if you applied for EIDL loan and you didn't get approved or whatever reason happened to you, and apply again, because they opened it up, now it's available. And remember, the EIDL loan, when you apply for that, you got this 10,000 grant. That grant is still there, and that grant you got, and when you apply for PPP forgiveness, they make you pay that back. Remember, so some folks had already applied for forgiveness. That grant already came out as a loan to pay it back, and that is repealed. That means that is not true anymore. That is not right anymore. That is supposedly not happen anymore. The $10,000 or less, whatever dollar you got from EIDL loan for the grant portion is 100% yours, not to pay taxes and not to pay it back. And if you already got notice from your bank, and know that they will amend it, so you will make a note and to go back to the bank to get that money back, because you should not be paying it. Okay, so this is a change related to EIDL loan. That's why I mentioned it here. And on January the 10th, so the SBA will issue rules on all covered entities, including those that completed loan forgiveness prior to enactment, and treat them equally. So what it says is that if you had already got PPP forgiven, you know how the bank give you a statement saying that how much you owe, and you ended up owing some because of the EIDL loan, and that is not true anymore. So they will come up with ways to sort it out. So now there are folks who applied for EIDL loan and they got a little bit of grants, but didn't really go on with the loan itself. So I highly recommend you to go for that. And it's not that I have some crystal balls, I know what happened, but I knew the fact is the EIDL loan was going through a underwriting process. So you are already being verified as a legitimate company and suffered economic loss. So they give you that loan. And if things are not getting better anytime soon, and the economy is still in the tank, and we are still struggling, it is so easy. It is very easy for the government to do something different about the EIDL loan that you borrowed. So I want to make sure that you don't look out to other places to borrow. You want to exhaust your EIDL loan first. If you ever borrow a penny from the bank, I want you to borrow from EIDL loan first. because that is a loan that really gonna help you if we are in the trench of still struggling and for the rest of the year 2021. You know, I am looking back to March 2020 and remember when that just happened and we got impression of this thing is just gonna be a fluke, it's gonna finish in June. Everything was tabled onto June. June came, it's not the story. Then everything was tabled to September. September came, it's not the same thing. And now we are into the darkest time for pandemic in December and January. And January is not going to get better, folks. And I mean, I am not scientist and I have very simple mind related to science. I already believe in that. So I think that's a common knowledge unless someone was so wrapped up with politics and they can lie whatever they want to lie. But the reality is for business, we just cannot shake it. It is going to be hard for the spring of this 2021. So if that become the issue, and hopefully the new leadership will see it, and that EIDL loan will be a tool. That's my whole point for you to go for EIDL loan first before you go for anything else. Okay, now let's talk about PPP. This is a really hot topic. I tried to be really organized for you so that you can get the knowledge and know exactly what you want to do and what you can do. Okay. So now before I talk about this second round of PPP, I want to shed some light on last April. Okay. And I don't know how many of you actually did not get funded for the first round of PPP back in March and April. And I am one of those. And imagine that I study these things. So when it's come out, I'm busy with all of the clients. Of course, I worked for community CPA as well because April comes supposed to be a really busy time and everything got shut down, right? So I did not get the PPP for the first round. And I want to give you the number. In April, the first round of PPP was 342 billion. And I did not get it. Most of my clients didn't get it. We have a couple of clients who got it because they're so aggressive, they're so determined. They were on the tail of the bankers. And, normally the bank will tell us, wait, and we will get to you. But that wait, it doesn't work. So we have clients who got it, they're really pushing it. And then most of our people who are, just don't know the ropes and don't know how aggressive we need to be, we didn't get it. Okay. Then recall that all the small business did not get the PPP in the first round. The Congress approved additional 310 billion. And most of the small business owners got the PPP after April 2020. And I got it in May. So I didn't get it in April. But actually, April is the month that I really needed help. Okay. So a lot of business is the same way. If I am talking about needing help, I know all of my clients need help. And I have 10,000 and more clients. All right. So now I give you this number because I want you to understand the magnitude of people who need the money. And we're talking about billions. I don't even know what billion looks like. Okay. I understand what 100,000 looks like. So I know that's the same thing for you. And you don't know what billions look like, but look at this. It is $652 billion ended up funding whoever they want to fund. So ended up funding community CPA, ended up funding all of my clients who wanted to get PPP. And there's also clients who are so little and so teeny and they just couldn't really do it because it's too much requirement, right? So now, this time, we got authorized for how much? 284 billion for second round of PPP. And you think that's enough? No, because it is not enough. So I want to say that to you. It is up to you for how quickly you act. Okay, so you must be ready as soon as the gate is open. So you want to ask me, when is the gate is open? Probably around January the 15th, because that's what SBA was talking about, to get everything ready by 10th January, 15th of January. And who do you go to and how to get ready? Get ready for your records, right? You got to have some sort of record to show that you suffered economic loss. Then you got to be ready because you know how you got your first round, right? You were talking to a banker and you got funded by the bank, by one of the banks, right? So those are your first stop to go. You need to get hold of them again and making sure that you are on their list to get funded. And the banks would more willing to do the one that you got funded the first time because they already have all your record in the system. So a lot of banks like US Bank already sent out emails to the PPP recipients telling them that, okay, we're designing our system and this time we will do it on what day. So if you are already with the bank and the bank is sending you information about that, you stay with them, okay? Because that's the easiest way to get funded for the second round. Now, who is eligible for the second round? Let's read this. Read this together. Your income, gross receipts, must have declined by 25% or more in any quarter of 2020 compared to 2019. So this is where you are going to think, okay, I need to have 2019 ready. I need to have 2020 ready. And it is not any 3 months period. It is a quarter. There's only 4 quarters in a year, first, second, third, and the fourth. Okay. Don't be creative trying to just get a 3 months somewhere in the middle. No. Loss will need to be measured by quarters, not 3 months period. Gross receipts are to be measured by your income, but right now, so far I read, not likely to are likely to exclude funds, which means is you don't need to add PPP and your state grants, all of these other income that you got. Okay, so just your real business income. Now, you must have been in business prior to February the 15th, 2020. What does that mean? That means just in case you don't have 2019 and you have your first quarter of 2020, that could be used as well based on the eligibility. So you must be having the business before February the 15th, 2020. Otherwise, there is nothing to compare. You must have used or will use all of your previous PPP loan. So by now, if you got funded in May, you should not have any PPP dollar left. Okay. So if you still have things left, they don't give you the second one. You must have fewer than 300 employees. Majority of us would be able to do that. Qualified businesses can be corporation, LLC, sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractors. So let me tell you what forms that means in taxes. So it can be 1120, 1120S, 1065, and Schedule C and Schedule E. So those are the variety of forms that you're going to get to. If you are a LLC, you get a K1. That K1 must have the place we're called 14, area 14 is kind of on the bottom of a middle column, and that must have a number. Otherwise, is not a self-employed income. Okay, and no loan can be greater than $2 million. So this is where they are making effort to make those big companies not to fight with little teeny small businesses. And they say that the loan has to be under 2 million. Boy, I just have few clients who had 2 million, 1 million and above PPP, but majority of us do not have this kind of PPP. All right. Now we know who is eligible, right? Then there is one thing the PPP made some changes to is to prioritizing underserved communities. I know you're going to ask me what is underserved communities. I do not have a good definition. I looked up and down, left and right, and I searched. I surfed the internet all day long. I can't find the good definition, but here is what I have for you. there are in this whole PPP 200 some billion dollars. There is 15 billion carved out, and there's 25 billion, so total of 40 billion that is carved out for underserved communities. So I don't know how exactly they will be knowing who is underserved communities. For example, if you are underserved community members and you come to apply for PPP, so I think they will fund you. Not only you're eligible for the big part, and you are also eligible for this 15 billion and 25 billion effort. So that just means that you have more chance to be funded rather than being kicked and telling you that, oh, sorry, no more funds, and the first come, first serve, you're too late. So I think this will be a safeguard for you, and you will get funding. SBA will issue guidance within 10 days addressing the barriers to accessing capital for minority, underserved, veteran, and women-owned business concerning for purpose of ensuring equitable access to the second draw PPP loan. So they're making effort, and I don't really know what that effort is. And of course, if they ask me to ask community CPA, we'll give them a list of the people. But we will see in 10 days. So from December 26th, 10 days over. So I think it's around January the 10th, right here in this year. And the 15 billion is for first draw PPP loan made to eligible recipients with not more than 10 employees or made in a amount less than 250,000 in low income areas. So here, my interpretation is that if you are a underserved community members with small business, you didn't get your first one, you will get your first one. You'll also get your second one. Okay, of course, the first one will have first one requirement. The second one has second one requirement. But this is how I understood, because they put together $15 billion reserved for the first draw. So now 25 billion for second draw. And this made eligible recipients with not more than 10 employees again, and the same threshold. So if you meet this threshold, that means you can apply for 2 PPP. And more guidance will come out, but today I will tell you this is how it looks to me. This is exactly the language from the bill. So to me, if I am a women-owned in the low-income area small business, which I can think of one of my clients, she actually went to Oregon because she couldn't survive here. So now I'm going to call her to tell her that she should apply for the first one, she should apply for the second one, and to see whether she can get both. Okay, so now let's look at more information and related to PPP. So now we know the eligibility. Then how much can you get? So here is something that really important. So for the first round of PPP, remember you were doing the average monthly payroll in 2019 times 2.5, right? So for example, if your payroll cost is 10,000, you can apply for 25,000. And remember in here, the 60% is payroll cost and the 40% is other expenses, right? That still stays the same. And keep in mind that the payroll expenses includes all costs related to W-2 and the commission, bonus, health insurance, retirement, and the state local taxes. Okay, I know when I said that, some people will say that, well, Ying, that's not true because my lender will throw away my state taxes. This thing is just so messed up, so messy. Some of the lenders, they do things more conservative. They don't want to let you borrow more. They're worried about you cannot get forgiven. So they take the state taxes out. But some vendors some banks allows the state and taxes. I have seen all kind of underwriting standards related to the first PPP. I guess they're all right. They're all okay. And actually the one who do not allow you the state local taxes, they just give you less money. That's all. But when you get approval going, and they approves it. They approve the state taxes, local taxes. Accommodation and the food service business like hotel and restaurants, and these are hard hit. They consider their hard hit industry. They upped the 2.5 to 3.5. So now 3.5 average 2019 monthly payroll cost. In other words, if your restaurant's 2019 monthly payroll is 10,000, now you get 35,000, folks. Okay, and I want to tell you that in the bill, they talk about NAIC code 72, and let me share with you on the NAIC code. So this is what I'm going to stop sharing, but I want to share you with another screen because I want you to see the NAIC code internet search I got here. Okay, so anybody on your tax return, you will find the NAIC code that your tax preparer put for you. Okay, I hope they're right, because if you are under NAIC code sector 72, this is the class code, and right here, this is 72. The 72 is accommodation, travel accommodation, hotel, except casinos hotel. And then here is casinos hotel, other travelers accommodation. I would say that bed and breakfast and also the Airbnb, they qualify. Okay, so the RVs and the room and board housing and the special food service and the drink places. Look at that. So these are mobile food services, okay? And so mobile food services, maybe, I mean, maybe you did okay because of pandemic, but if you are still suffering loss from 2019, this is the way to know that you are qualified. You are qualified for 3.5. So this is where we say where are you going to get it, and you are going to get that. You are going to get your food 75, your food and accommodation service for 3.5 times. So there's also other industry like the massage industry, like nail salon. You are also affected, but it is not under this bill to be giving 3.5. So they're only for you belong. So right now, my interpretation, you belongs to the 2.5, the old way that how they do it. So now, and you understand the PVP, the spirit of it, they carved out 40 billion to give to underserved community. We're waiting for definition. We're waiting for how they're going to implement that. And women-owned business qualified for that. So then we also know that who is eligible and how much you will get. So on the eligibility side, remember, this is really key that you need to have your business going on before February the 15th of 2020. And because you need to get the history data out to compare the quarterly. It's quarterly, it's not any 3 months. So make sure that you got your accounting lined up. You can prove that, yes, I do. I suffered 25% or more losses in the given quarter. And you just need one. You just need one quarter to be that way and you qualify. Now, this is how much you are getting. What is the rest of the bill for PPP? So the rest of billions, there's 25 billions in the emergency rental aid and the extension for national eviction memorandum through January the 31st, 2021. I actually, I feel the pain because they keep on extending this one from September with Trump's executive order was extended to December and then now to January. Why can't they just extend it all the way to March? I don't even know why we do that. Maybe they don't have enough money to give to the landlord to help out situation. I don't know. I'm just not a politician. I just really, I don't understand a lot of things. And then your $45 billion is in transportation. That I understand with the airline and, there's just nobody riding airplanes and trains and things like that. And $1 billion for Amtrak, I think it should be more, but Amtrak is very useful. Then 82 billion dollar in funding of college and school and daycare. Yes, that is needed. 22 billion dollar for health related expenses. Yeah, that should be always there. That should be in the priority too. 13 billion for emergency food assistance. So this is kind of related to the STEM, the food program for low income. So that is helpful. That is really helpful. And but I see another side of issue because the supplier chain is having issue. So we could have food stamp goes out, but the food supplies is short, so it is challenging right now. 7 billion for broadband expansion, that is for the internet, right? And some of the school they close, but the kids can't get into the internet to they can't really play videos because it's not working. So those are challenges for the country, and these are the fix they have by the billions. So that's where the money went for this December bills that just came out. Now let me give you a quick summary of our PPP amendment. So PPP amendment simply means that we got the second round PPP is actually part of the PPP amendment. So as a PPP program, they redesigned it, had things that changing. Some of them some of them you probably knew it but didn't really think that's part of the amendment. I want to make sure that we summarize this up for you because this will be very useful for you, and you don't have to wonder and what is important to me, because while you're listening to me, you already sort of screen through your situation. You already know what is important. Okay, so number one, the forgivable expenses are expended. So this only applies to the one that PPP forgiveness is not given for the first round. Let's say if you're applying for PPP forgiveness, you have a trouble to come up with your 60/40, and on your 40 you just don't have enough categories because the old rules was only for utility and property, and now they expanded to property good cost, damage cost, like fixing my facility so I can have the proper dividers between me and the customer. Those one eligible, and the supplier cost and the investment in facility modification, like what I said. And so those are the ones they allow a face mask, and you purchase personal protective equipment, that's allowed. So if you have trouble to spend your 40% in the first round of PPP, you haven't really applied for the forgiveness yet, now you can add them into there. Okay, but for the second round, it is already open up, so you can use that money for all kind of things when you got the 2.5, when you got the 3.5. So that is what we want to mention to you. This is the change to PPP. The amended eligible expenses will not apply to a first draw loan for which the borrower has received forgiveness prior to the date of enactment. So what that means is if you already got a PPP forgiveness done, and part of your expenses wasn't really allowed, and they don't want to go back to fix it. They say that that's what it is, it's done, and only apply to the ones that come through later. So this is kind of consistent, in the very beginning of the PPP time, when we start working on the forgiveness, and you probably hear me on the webinar again telling you that you don't be in the hurry to apply for the forgiveness, and just let the dust settle. And the government is changing rules like baby change diapers these days, so you don't want to change the new diaper if it is still not wet. So just leave it with the government and do it on the last day is due. I mean, I say that easily because some of our folks are just very nervous about the government compliance side of things. And as long as you're working with us, we'll make sure you're in compliance. That's one thing I really appreciate our client. The people who come to Community CPA are really good business people because they care about compliance. That's why they're here. And we make sure that we understand the rules and regulation and really give you the best advice. We don't want anybody to do things wrong because sooner or later they come back. I mean, after this pandemic, you think the government is gonna just goodbye to all these money they gave you? No way. They will come back and look at your record and tell you that you shouldn't even apply for it and come back with money from you and plus penalty and interest. So don't let yourself ever get there. And I don't, if my client says to me that, oh, just do it, so I don't care. I care. I want to make sure that you don't end up blaming your advisor giving you wrong advice, so you got it wrong. We want you to do it right. The only way to do it right is us study it together. Okay. And I like my webinar title says, English is my second language. Okay. And I speak English in such a simple way just because I don't have the lawyer's words. I'm not sophisticated enough like Matt. And Matt Gilbert, okay, and I'm mentioning him because he's on here, and I just really speak plain English. I call them Chinglish or English with a Y. And that is the way that I explain things to folks. A lot of folks are really like the way I do because it is simple. It is understandable. So I don't have big words for you. And let's just make sure that we understand everything. We are in compliance with everything. For loans up to 150,000, the eligible entity, which is you, if you got a loan up to 150,000, you may submit a certification attesting to the applicable revenue loss. So what they're saying is that, when you apply for the second round, and they may say that as long as you got the paper ready and you know that one of your quarter is suffered and lost more than 25%, you can just sign a certificate of attestation and saying that, yes, I do have that loss. And then they will use that to give you the money. Eligible entity, you that submitted a certification must produce adequate documentation showing the entity met the revenue loss standards prior to submit the application for forgiveness. So this leaves the room for the bank to require you. Okay, so you might say that, well, okay, great, I signed a certification, I'll do that later because I know I lost the money. And that may not be good enough because the bank may come back say that you must submit proofs. So you need to have your second quarter of 2019 and the number with your second quarter of 2020 number, and that revenue should show that the 2019 was 100,000 revenue, but in 2020 it is 75,000 or less, right? So those are the things, and you need to know so you can prepare right now. You have 10 days to prepare for that. So lenders eligible to make first draw loans may make second draw loans. So what they're saying is, our small business, if you are eligible for the first one, you probably can do the second one simultaneously, just because we know that you're suffering the loss. And especially for the food industry, who didn't lose? I mean, when we say losses, sometimes we think of the profit, but in this whole concept, it's not about profit, it's about your sales. So you may still make profit because you laid off everybody else, and you, a business owner, you work yourself, and you're just curbside pickup, so you give the food out and you can handle that with yourself. Then your sales for sure is less. You probably didn't lose money, but your sales dropped. So that's what they're looking at. They're not looking at you make money or not. They're looking at your sales dropped. Okay, don't confuse with revenue versus profit. And the business expense paid with the proceeds of PPP loan are tax deductible. What does that mean? That means that, let's say you got a PPP loan and you paid your salary out of the PPP loan, right? So your accountant, us, before this act, we told you that, and the salary expenses out of PPP is not deductible. So you need to reduce your payroll expense because it's paid by PPP. And that was told by IRS on November 18. IRS issued a revenue letter, a revenue ruling on November 18, saying that we have to account for that. So that's why your accountant are talking like that. And so that's why how I was talking for a while. But now this bill come out, it's totally reversed what I said. That's why you can't, you just don't quote on those one of those old videos and saying, well, Ying, you said that. I did say that because it was a reason. Now I'm telling you, you don't have to count for that. So your payroll expense is still payroll expense. Your PPP, it is like what? It is like the money you got from grandma and under the mattress, and you don't have to count anything about that. You don't have to count that as income. You don't have to count that as an expense reduction. So that's what I mean by that. Expense, business expense paid by those loans, still tax deductible. And EIDL loan, remember I mentioned that the grants, that is not counted. That is not going to become your loan. It should be written off. So that is the EIDL deduction from PPP loan is repealed. The loan forgiveness process is simplified. So this is another one. If you haven't really applied for loan forgiveness and you have $150,000 on the first round, it's simplified. So wait and hold on until they got the simplified version come out and you sign your paper. Of course, my advice to you, you still need to have all your ducks in a row, because I promise you, they come back to you. And you know what? When IRS come back to audit us, and they like to target for the disadvantaged and underserved community. You know why they want to do that? Because most of those folks are not having good backup in place. So it is easy, it's a low-hanging fruit. And they go back and they make you return the money. And we have business owners working so hard for 20 years, and one audit hit, and they go back. They owe 400,000, 500,000 taxes. There's no way people can make it up. But it's not all IRS's fault. And you did not have those documentation ready yet. They want the money back. So that's very normal. So I say it doesn't matter how simplified they are, and it only saves your time with the banker. But you don't want to not have documents in place. So that's the quick summary of these eight points on the summary of PPP amendments. Okay, so now with the amendment, and here I actually continue to clarify one more thing, is that December 26th is the date of the enactment of this act. Okay, the Emergency Coronavirus Relief Act. So this act was on December 26th. So remember that day, because if you did a forgiveness loan before this day, and you go with the old rule, and you did it after, you go with the new rule. Okay, SBA will establish one-page loan forgiveness application within 24 days of enactment. So 24 days, that's the end of January, and we'll have you give the number of employee retained, estimated amount of covered loans spent on payroll, that need to be 60%. Okay, total loan value, and also measure of 60-40 expense allocation. So they're doing something to make it simplified. So just stay tuned and really wait for that. Now, a lot of talking. We have 8 minutes. So let me go to my quick advice for small businesses for all of you, okay? And contact your bank again to make sure you're in line waiting right away, okay? That's my number one advice. And you do not need to, if you did not apply for PPP the first time around, and by reading this bill, and I believe that you can apply for the first and the second at the same time, okay? And if you do not have any accounting record for your PPP loan application, and please contact our office or your bookkeeper to see if can be done as soon as possible. Okay. And if your first PPP is 150K less, hold on to after January the 15th to apply for forgiveness, because there is a simplified version come out. Okay, wait for that. If you have already done that, and you might be told to pay back the EIDL grant and wait for SBA to amend, you will not pay for it. Okay, and I'm actually one of those who applied forgiveness already. And I have a 10,000 EIDL grant. So they were asking me to pay it back. So I was thinking of whether to pay it back. Now this bill come out, I guess I don't have to, right? So you might be in the same boat. So make sure that you do that. No deduction for expenses that result in PPP loan forgiveness. So that means if your PPP was paying for rent, utility, you don't have to reduce your rent and utility when you file taxes. You can still deduct that same expense, okay? And no income on the PPP as well. If your PPP is 150,000, you don't add that into your income. It's not income. It is just grandma's money under the mattress. That's what I call it. You are responsible for your own survival, not others. And I say that to you just because I am so worried about all of the small businesses that are out there, and you need help. I know you need help, but you really have to do a little bit due diligence on your own. Even if I take over everything you have to take care of you, and then that's a limited number we can take care of. There's so many of you out there, and make sure you are responsible for your own survival. All right. And be responsible and learn as much as you can and to help. And there's internet available, and there's our webinars available, and you can call us, and we never will turn you away if you come. But we want to make sure that you spread out the word for the community, and especially the underserved community. If you ask me that definition, and my definition is every single client of ours is underserved community. So we need to help you. And you deserve that 200 some billion dollars, a portion of that, and need to come over to you. And this is kind of the last slides I have for this for today. And I am so glad that you are here. I hope you learned something from this Chinglish talk. And I will see you again next Saturday. Bye-bye.